Alright, so today we're going to be rehandling a Firesteel. So I have this Ferro Rod right here. It's about 5.5 inches long, and I want to add a handle to it. I want to shorten this and add a handle to it, make it easier to put in my pack. Just have something to keep in my fire kit, so I always have a Firesteel on me. This is the material we're going to be using for the handle. It's called g-carta. It's basically layered micarta, so it's different colors and stuff. I'll show a couple close-ups of it here in a bit. So yeah, we're gonna start working on that. We're gonna get this fire rod slimmed down. And we're gonna draw out a design for the handle and cut out the handle using the bandsaw, and then try to get it all together. So here's all the basic materials we're gonna be using. We got the epoxy, obviously the Firesteel, and then here's that g-carta I was talking about. You can see how it's layered, orange and blue. We're gonna be using this bandsaw, belt sander over there, to get these two together and get a good shape out, and yeah, we'll go from there. So you can see I'm just trying out a template, kind of trying to see the size I want, depth of the Firesteel, length of the Firesteel, and then I'm just kind of checking the size for the actual handle itself that I might want. I might be over mathing it a little bit, but I really just want to make sure that what I'm doing is exactly what I want. So now I'm cutting out the template, just double checking it on the piece, making sure I'm not wasting anything, and then I'm going to do a quick double check on the steel, and we should be good to go. So now that we got the micarta cut, we're going to move on to cutting the ferro rod. So I'm just going to put it here in this bench vise. I'm putting a piece of leather in there in between to stop it from scraping up the ferro rod, since it's a pretty soft material. So that piece of leather will help hold it in place and also not cause it to scar. We're going to cut this thing down to size with some maybe questionable methods, which you'll see here in a second, that may involve some sparks. So we're going to try and use this small little I think it's just a little hacksaw, just made for cutting like small piece of metal and such. As you can see, it throws sparks because this is a ferro rod.
I want to try.
Dude, I just want to see, like. Don't breathe that.
It's good for you.
I had a very bad idea.
Don't do it, no. As long as we don't start a fire in the shop.
Bone saw. Cut through a catalog. Cut through a femur in 10 minutes. 30 seconds. That's
That looks so fun. You don't have any linseed oil around, right? So obviously there's better ways to do this. You're supposed to go slow and use some water, but honestly we were just having some fun here. That's sick. So now we got the two main pieces, actual Firesteel, and the handle. So we're gonna start sanding down the handle. I got it in a rough shape with the bandsaw. Start sanding it down. We'll drill it and epoxy this, and this doesn't really need much work. We just had to cut it. Other than that, we're good to go. So here's the setup in the vise. We just have it sitting in between a piece of leather again, just to keep it from marring up the material. And then here's the drill we're going to be using. So just put it in the vise and just drilled. I had a little marking on the bit. show how deep I needed to go. It's pretty quick. There's a little bit more footage of me drilling, but figured y'all didn't want to see all of that. So just got the hole where I wanted, was able to blow it out, and then was able to just fit this right in. It was a pretty tight fit, so I could make sure the epoxy would keep it tight and that it would just fit kind of tight in there naturally. So as you can see here, I'm just filing off the edges. I'm making it a little more round, making it to where it'll be a little more comfortable in my hand. I really don't like having sharp edges. That's kind of where this was right now, even after the sanding. So now you just see me rounding it off, making it nice and smooth. Once I have it all finished, I'm going to go ahead and put a lanyard hole in this thing. I kind of want this to be pretty centered, so I'm just measuring it out, taking my time. You know, this is something that's pretty important to me, is trying to keep everything in line. I already had the hole drilled a little bit off center, so I really wanted to make sure this lanyard hole kept centered. So I just put a little cross where I was going to put the drill bit, and yeah, it went pretty easy from there. Next, we're going to actually drill out the hole. So here I am, just kind of sanding it down. The really cool thing about micarta is you can get some really smooth finishes on it if you do a pretty easy sandpaper progression. So this was already kind of at, I think it was an 80 grit already, just from going on the belt sander. And so right now I'm using 120. It's just a really easy scale up, right up from 80. And then throughout, I kind of just used finer and finer and finer sandpaper until I got the finish I wanted. I went up to 800, which to me seems to be about the perfect spot to finish micarta. It feels grippy, but still looks really nice and smooth and just kind of well finished. I will say, if you do this, make sure you get your sandpaper wet. It helps keep a lot of the dust out of the way with the micarta, and you can definitely kind of see what you're doing a little bit better. So now I'm just going to mix up some epoxy. I got this JB Weld 5-minute cure stuff. It's pretty strong for what I'm using it for. This is just going to hold this already tight-fitting ferro rod in place of this micarta. So this stuff mixes up really well. It sets really quick. That's why I like using it. So I just have the handle back in the base. And all I'm going to do is just take a old nail. I'm just going to spin some of that epoxy around in there. Make sure I'm getting all the sides covered and the top covered. And just make sure there's a really nice even coat. It's okay if there's a little bit extra because I'm going to clean it off whenever I finish everything. So here I am taking the ferro rod, and it just fits right in there. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of a tap with a hammer to make sure that it seats all the way. And it should be good and ready for finishing. So here's where we're at right now. As you can see, the rod is in the handle. This is after it's cured for a bit. As you can see, it's a little bit off center. That bothers me a little bit, but it is what it is, so we're just going to have to keep going. So I got this mineral oil finish. It's used for cutting boards a lot. I like it because when you use different oils like linseed oils and types of wood finishing oils like that, it can kind of add a tint, and I really just want to make the color that's already in this micarta pop even. So I got this cutting board finishing oil. It's just a mineral oil, so it's clear. Definitely accentuates things a little better. Even in wood grain, it helps it pop a little better without adding a stain. So it helps you get more of a natural finish. And I really like it, so I decided to use that instead of an oil like linseed oil. So here's a final look over it of it all finished with all the excess linseed oil wiped off. There's some spots I wish I would have sanded down a little bit more. And again, that ferro rod's a little off center, but I'm liking it. I think it feels better in the hands, a lot better than just holding just the rod. I can hold in this pistol grip kind of formation, and I think it looks really nice. And the way that micarta pops different on all sides is just really cool to me. So I'm really proud of this piece. All right, so the Firesteel's done. Here's the finished product. I threw a piece of paracord on it just as a lanyard, just so I can loop a steel to it whenever that comes in. But yeah, this was a really fun project, really easy project. It only took about 3 hours with sanding and drilling the holes and everything. So definitely something that you could easily do yourself for fun. Just gives you a better handle on your Firesteel. Thanks to Ian for letting me use his shop. This was a super fun project. Actually, you can go start a fire with it and make sure this works and that it's a suitable piece of equipment for my pack. All right, so here we are in the woods behind my house. Got my Firesteel and got my knife as my striker. I got a nice little pile of birch bark shavings, some birch bark close by, and some easy access kindling. See if we can get a fire going with this thing. So first, I'm just gonna scrape some of the ferro rod onto the pile. And what that's gonna help is whenever I throw the sparks, those shavings are also gonna spark up. All right, now we're actually gonna throw some sparks. And there we go. Easy as that, we got fire. So I'm gonna throw some of this birch bark on here. Well, I'd say it works pretty well. It's pretty comfortable to hold. Throws sparks really well. Could do that for days. All right, guys, so here's a final picture of the fire and just some final close-ups of this project. I had a lot of fun doing it. Again, super easy. You can definitely do it yourself. If you like what you see, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and comment what you'd like to see, and if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.